Hello and welcome to episode 31 of the Gussets and Godos podcast. I'm Christina and this is my podcast about my knitting, stitching and crafting. It is today March 31st and I wanted to jump on because I just finished a fabulous project which I need to send off in the post, and I needed to show you. Where is it? Oh, there it is. So, the quilt that I made for my sister, the really simple, just top stitched quilt, I have now bound with my lovely matted corners on there. And I'm so happy with it. I washed it on a 40-degree wash with a normal spin, and it's just hand stitched on this side, machine stitched on that side, the binding. This is exactly how it came out of the machine. I haven't ironed it yet. To be honest, I probably wouldn't usually iron. I quite like the slightly wrinkled texture, but for her I will iron it so it's pristine and you know, wrap it really beautifully. But the piece de resistance is the label. Oh my gosh, I love it. So her name is Mia Rose, to be born in June, and oh, it's so sweet. So I just did a satin stitch on the writing. I did a satin stitch on the leaves. I did French knots. I call that fishbone stitch. I don't know if that's correct. You know, sometimes with embroidery I make things up. And then these are wagon wheels. So if you look at the purple one, I hope it's showing up really nicely. That's how they're meant to come out, quite smooth and flat. And when I did the two bigger sizes, on the edge, the stitches were so long that if I flicked up, the threads were sitting proud and would easily catch, like on your pet's claw or something, or like on a zipper. So I did some little stab stitches all the way round, anywhere I felt on both of them, and it's given it more of a kind of a peony look, which I think is still really pretty, but it's a bit different than, see that each stitch is very defined and very smooth. So on these other two slightly bigger ones, they have like a just ever so slightly different feel to them. So yeah, I think they look a little bit more like a peony than a rose, but that's fine. And overall, it has turned out absolutely wonderfully, and it's just exactly what I needed just to lift this quilt from quite simple to something really special. And what was the measurement in the end? I think it is 1 metre by 1 metre. It is square. I did check at least that. Yeah, it's coming out 95. Because I will have trimmed it down a little bit. We have paper all on the floor that came with an Amazon delivery. We ordered something for the baby, I can't remember. And there was so much paper. And Nina loves it, like everywhere. We'll have to get rid of it soon, but just as a treat we left it out. Anyway. I'm really jealous of this. I should have made one for myself. It's going to be so handy. She's going to really love it. So that is the one that I wanted to show you. Oh. Finished make always feels nice. And I did it as a banner straight across and left out the corner there, which I think looks good. So this was my template which I used. So you can see the wagon wheels. You draw the circle that you want it to be as a finished flower, and then you give yourself 5 spokes You can do more or less than that, but it must be an odd number. I think with the bigger, if I'd have done 7 or 9, I wouldn't have needed to do those stab stitches, but I haven't done the wagon wheel in quite some time, so... Oh, and when I drew it, I realised that this flower was further away to the writing than this one, so I just kind of cut it through and taped it. And I used kind of a transferable pen and ironed it on, and it worked really well. I'm glad it washed well. Isn't it nice when you machine wash something and you're not 100% sure it's gonna wash that well, and it comes out and it just looks pristine. So I'm really happy with that. There was no pattern, I just winged it. Finally, I have finally finished my granny stripe blanket by Attic 24, and I did just a little edging. I wasn't sure what edging I wanted. I looked online, and all of the ones that I saw video tutorials for all started with what they said was a single crochet row, so followed the video. And that is what I've added. Really, really easy to do. So on the one side you can see that there's a slip stitch along the top edge, and on the other side you can just see the kind of 2 legs of the stitch. So it definitely does have a right side and a wrong side, but I think it's pretty either way. And it looks very much to me like the embroidery stitch, a blanket stitch, which is it's got quite like a homemade feel to it. It's like quite a naive stitch. It's not complicated, it's very simple, and you see it around the edge of lots of felt things. And I was going to do a bigger border, still something simple, but as soon as that went on there, I thought, no, didn't need it. That was just enough, just to finish it for me. So 1 row of single crochet. I picked this fun red, which was, I think it's called cayenne pepper. It's just a West Yorkshire Spinners sock yarn, and I'm chuffed with that. Ages ago I blocked this blanket because I started off with a really tight tension, and it started to get looser and start being almost triangular. So I blocked this edge and I really stretched out as much as I could. Now my tension has become much better, so the rest of the blanket from that point on is very consistent. So I'm not going to reblock it. It looks really nice just as is. I wanted to show you the difference in length. So this was, if I match them on one side, there is still a difference in length. Now, I'm happy with that because it's a scrappy blanket and really it doesn't matter to me, and it's for me, and I can still fold it really nicely. So to me it doesn't matter, but I think it's worth knowing. It's worth knowing. And I'm really glad now that I've managed to get a good tension in my crocheting, because with my knitting I'm very consistent now, and crochet would, just getting that little bit more control with my crochet is nice. Oh, now whips. I think that I am a monogamous knitter, and I am, usually. I'm a monogamous garment knitter. If I started a sweater or a cardigan, I want that garment, so I will work on it until it's done. But with this last year being as it was, I kind of was picking up small little projects here and there, going off them because I wasn't feeling too well. From time to time, and then when I felt better I didn't want to pick up the project that I'd been feeling unwell doing. I wanted something kind of fresh and new, so I've got some little bits and pieces. I'm going to start with the Whitmore, the cardigan I've been working on. This has knit up a treat, absolute treat. So last time you'll have seen the yoke, and now I've added on both sleeves. and it has the yarn, which is, I've got the band here to show you, Drop Sky in white. It has almost like a boucle. It looks like a lamb. It looks like a little baby lamb. It's got a little bit of a kind of a fuzzy, slightly kind of an uneven look to it, which I really like, which is why I think it looks like a lammy boucle. Very nice. You can see there is definition through the rib, but not massive, just enough. And I really love it. I've got it on 2 different needles. Oh. This was not the best thing to wear, to put on a cardigan. But it does fit. I have tried it on, and I know that when it blocks, it also gives a little bit width-wise. Because when I blocked my swatch, that's what it did. So anyway, completely the wrong outfit, but I just wanted to put it on just so you can see that it does fit. It's going to be so pretty. It looks terrible with all the lumpy stuff underneath my garment underneath, but oh, it's just so nice. And even the stockinette portion is looking really cute. So I'm super happy with the yarn. I didn't know how it would knit up on the stockinette, so, well, I'd done the swatch, but you know, never, a swatch versus a garment, you know, I don't have the imagination. Oh, so cozy and pretty. I went with the tapered sleeve. What size am I knitting? I can't remember what size I'm knitting. The sizing for the cardigan versus the sweater, they are 2 different sizings. I think this is the large actually. And I think I might have knit the small in the sweater. But the sweater is meant to be oversized and this is meant to be kind of fitted to your size. So yeah, with the sleeves, I picked up a few extra stitches, mainly because I'm terrible at picking up stitches. So a few extra makes it less holey for me. I find it very easy to get a holey pickup. And I like it nice and smooth, so I did a few extras. I think I did 6 extra in the armhole. And then I did a good portion without any decreases, just to accommodate my bicep. And then I've been doing decreases on every 8th row. And for me, that has been the perfect sleeve. That's not a problem with the pattern, that's specific to my arms. I know now when I'm making something with sleeves that if there are decreases, forget about them and just work it out myself, because my arms are not standard. I have a wider arm than my body would call for, and that's fine. Once you know those things, you can change it. So these are done. I'm at a standstill because what length do I make this cardigan now? I don't know. I have no waist. Well, I kind of have a waist in the back. I don't know. With the sweater, I added some extra short rows in the back because I tend to need that little bit extra, otherwise it like jumps up in the back. But I don't know if I need that on this, with this yarn, with this, I don't know. I just don't know. So I think it's going to have to wait for a few weeks, just so I'm not so big in my belly after the baby's born, and then I can judge it, because she's a very big belly at the moment. I don't know how long afterwards you still have a big belly. We're going to find that out. And I got the buttons delivered. Oh. So I think it's called, I'm going to have to write it on the screen. I think it's called The Swagger Man's Daughter. Now, specifically check the screen because I wrote it wrong into Google. some very perturbing things came up. So this isn't vintage buttons, this is something very different. Oh, so that was absolutely hilarious. So yes, whatever was on the screen is the correct shop. She stocks lots of vintage things, haberdashery, some vintage kind of costume jewellery, hair slides and things, vintage toys, buttons, beads, like loads of random stuff. Random. So these are a plain plastic clear button, which kind of has like it's like a bowl, there's like empty in the middle, and then it's engraved along the back. And a few of them did have a slightly sharpish edge where it had come out of the mould where the resin had been poured, so I just went round with a nail file and just filed off any of those like slightly sharper edges, just because this yarn I can feel that it would catch, and since doing that they are now perfect. But I've ordered buttons from her quite a few times, and that's the first time that I've had anything with I guess you'd call it a flaw, but they are a vintage button and they weren't very expensive. Yeah, I was happy to do that. I follow some people online that do resin molds with jewellery or buttons, and sometimes if you overspill through the mould you get a little bit of extra and then you file that off after, so that seems to be quite a common enough thing. Anyway, they are going to look so sparkly and lovely. Yay! It is so warm today, it's unreal how warm it is, you would not believe. It went from being the middle of winter to glorious summer as soon as the clocks went forward. I don't know what happened. Anyway, so those are all my recent things that I've kind of had finished or on the go, and I realised I do have quite a few little bits and pieces. I thought maybe we could have like a little look. So one of my whips is this beautiful embroidery that will be framed in this size frame. I just put it in there now just to show you. It's called the Emerald City, and it is a beautiful design, beautiful pattern. I really only do embroidery in the spring summer months. I don't tend to do it in the autumn winter. I like it because my hands don't get so hot as they would with dealing with yarn. So it's not heavy, it doesn't drape on your lap. It's quite a small portable project. So any embroidery is really nice in the summer months. Also, I need the light. With knitting, I don't have to look. With sewing, I don't mind if it's not very light. I can always turn the overhead lights on. But with embroidery, for some reason, I want perfect lighting, especially because this is linen, and I've really struggled counting with linen. I'm used to using Ada, and I stepped up my game with this. I love Ada. I love that you just straight in that hole. No counting, you know, you can find that hole really easily. Not so with linen. There's a huge difference, and I know there's a fabric between, I think called Even Weave, and I should have gone for that, but the linen was so beautiful. This Robert Kaufman linen was just so nice. I used everything that the pattern suggested. It's exactly the frame size that they told me to frame it in. It's exactly the fabric that the pattern says. Nearly all the colours are the exact shade. I think a few of them are a slightly one tone lighter or darker because the shop didn't have it. I've made one mistake. In these stalks, they should be a dark teal, and they're not. I've done them in I picked up the wrong colour. I bought the wrong colour, and now I need to go back and unpick that, and I'm not looking forward to it. But you can see I'm nearly done. I've got the just the little bit left of the yellow brick road, clock face, and then I've got a few little bits and pieces here and there to fill in. We're nearly done. Seriously nearly done. There's no reason that I've stalled on it. Only autumn winter came around and it was waiting for me for summer. So there we go. Oh, I've got another embroidery project. Wonder if it's easy to hand. Maybe. Oh, here we go. So this project I started, I don't know if I did this last summer or the summer before, but in any case, it's by, they're called the Craft Pod. It's a subscription service, and they have all different artists design different projects for each season, and this was, I think this must have been summer. Anyway, there's meant to, I don't know if you can see, there's meant to be a bumblebee in the middle. I've completely finished the outside of the flowers and the stalks, which is satin stitch, and they are really lovely. It's really nice pattern. It was a kit actually, it all came together. And I need to do the inside of those flowers and then the bee. But I just don't want to do it. Sometimes projects absorb negative, this sounds so ridiculous. If you work on a project when bad things are happening, when you then think about that project, that's all you think about is how does it absorb it? But it does. Now I look at that now and I don't have any bad feeling towards it. However, when I think, oh, I should work on that project, I think, no. So looking at it now, I have no bad feeling towards it. I think it's beautiful and I really would love to just start working on it. But when I actually am somewhere else in the house and I suddenly remember, oh, I could just do a little bit of that hand stitching, because look how small it is, how neat and, you know, easy. That can just easily fit in my handbag, ready to go, even with the frame. I mean, that's nothing to fit in your backpack or your handbag. I just never pick it up. I don't know, maybe I should change the project bag. I don't know why. But the design is absolutely stunning and I'm really happy with my workmanship. I did a really beautiful job of it. The bee has faded, so I now need to go over that with, I think, a mechanical pencil and just sharpen up the lines, because I wouldn't be able to sew off that. That's much too faded. I mean, would it be worth it? You could have lost your eyesight by the end. But that subscription service is yeah, really fab. If you like different crafts, because they do different, it's not always embroidery. There's been some kind of appliques, and there's been some kind of little figurine making, you know, like little toy type things. You get all the different flosses, and everything was really good quality. I couldn't fault it at all. I think, did it even come with, yeah, it even came with the hoop. Came with 2 needles as well. So that was a fantastic, I am going to change the project bag, and then maybe I'll do that, because I really want it. Downstairs in the hallway I've got a few embroideries, and those 2 embroideries would just look so lovely. Just get a little bit more fullness on the wall, because you can't really have an embroidery wall with 3 embroideries. It's not quite an embroidery wall yet, just a little bit more. Oh, here's another one I've been working on. So this is the Wondrous Dishcloth by Jules of So Sweet Violet, and it's knit in the yarn that she recommends, Sheepy's Cotton Toner, and oh, they have so many beautiful colours, and they come in these teensy little balls, and I bought a few colours, and I started making it. It's nearly done actually. The texture is beautiful. Stockinette on the back, and you can see the little divots, which is where the front and back are held together. It's knit in the round, and that's a fun technique, picking up the stitches in order to make something instead of a hollow bag, so that it's actually stitched together. Brilliant. And there is one flaw with this. That's that I don't do washing up. Ever. I mean, no, ever. I don't wash up. That is Jason's chore. I cook everything. Everything in that kitchen I have cooked. Occasionally he'll make his own breakfast. Occasionally. But mostly, everything in that kitchen I cook. And so, everything in that kitchen he washes up. And he is very loyal to the sponge cloth brush combo that he uses for his washing up. So he was not impressed that I was trying to encroach on his washing up. And I just think that's hilarious. But I think it says something about the pattern and the design that it made me forget that I don't do washing up, and it made me want to make it. That's like selling ice to an Eskimo, isn't it? Getting someone to make a washcloth when they never wash up. That's a genius. How did Jules do it? But I do clean the bathroom. That's one of my chores. So I think I'm going to make a few of these, and I can see that texture is just going to be lovely, just for not scrubbing, but you know, just getting any soapy scum. And I don't know how long it's meant to be, but I actually think I can just bind that off, to be honest. I could probably do a few more rows, maybe one more little, however long the repeat is until the next closing, the next little pick-up round where you join the front and back. But oh, it's lovely. Very nice. I have not seen a few of these projects in quite a while, so I'm just rediscovering them. Oh, I started these last night, so I didn't really complain about the baby socks I was working on, but I mentioned they were a little bit tricky on the last episode. They were a bit fiddly, and I think it was the rib, you know, rib on small things. Oh, I don't want to do that. Especially when you've got the heel flap and then you've got the gusset, and you're trying to no. And the heel flap on that particular design I was discussing has a slip stitched heel, and that's all quite complicated for something so small. So someone very kindly in the comments recommended this pattern. I will put it on the screen, and it's lovely. It's a very nice pattern. You've got rib on the leg, but as soon as you've done that, you go into plain stocking stitch for the heel flap, the heel turn, the gusset, the foot. All of it's plain. And really, really easy to count, really easy to do, and I feel much better about making these tiny socks. So I'm making, this is just the tiniest little scrap of Powder Puff by Beehive Yarns, and I really love this colourway. Pinky, slightly peachy, beautiful. Anyway, thank you so much for the recommendation. I so appreciate it. And yeah, now I feel a little bit more confident to make a few little things, little socks. Oh, this shawl. I found this shawl today in my chest of drawers. I was looking for pyjamas to take to the hospital tomorrow, and I found a shawl. The yarn, which just looks cream on the screen, is called Flora, and it's by Loom. It's on the screen somewhere. It's like an undyed base with yellow speckles, teal speckles, peach speckles. There is much more of a yellow, kind of a warm yellow tone than I thought when I purchased it online. I thought there would be more of the peach, but I still think it's really pretty. And from it I'm knitting the Bennett Sisters shawl. And which way does it go? Yeah, that's the right way. So you can see you start on one tip and you've got this lovely garter, and I'm hoping that when I block it I can pull it across lengthways and try and encourage a little bit of extra length across my wingspan so that it's longer than so that it's wider and shorter, just to try and get that bit of extra length. And then in the middle of the shawl, you've got the stockinette section, which goes into a V. I guess I'm holding that upside down, actually. Yeah. And then on the pattern, there's like a tassel on all the 3 points, which is quite cool. Anyway, really happy with it. The only reason I stopped working on it is because it was Christmas, and I had a pair of socks I needed to make to gift, and I had an advent calendar that I needed to work on. So there's nothing wrong with the shawl, the pattern. I just put it down to work on the priority projects at hand. Popped it in my chest of drawers with my pyjamas because I didn't want it on the floor, and forgot about it. Oh, it does have on the edges, it has the kind of I-cord edging, which seems to be my thing at the moment. A little bit of I-cord. I'll go back to that. I wanted that for an autumnal shawl because I really like white in the summer, but in the autumn and winter I do quite like more of a neutrally pale colour, so I thought that that would go really nicely with lots of autumn browns and forest greens and burgundies, and it would have that nice hobbity feel of their hobbity colourways, more neutrals. Oh, here we go. Barely even worth showing, but my sister asked me for a scarf. She specifically wanted some kind of ombre blue. Very difficult to find. Also, she needs something that is machine washable. So I went to the craft shop and I'd sent a few photos of some different things, and she picked this wool. I don't have the ball band, so I'll have to write it on the screen for you, and I hate it. It's acrylic, it's a bit shiny, it feels almost squeaky. It's a very heavyweight yarn, and I'm knitting it on 5mm needles and a DK. Aran maybe? There was no pattern, I just looked. She sent me a photo of something that she liked and I couldn't find a pattern for anything similar, so I looked on Pinterest and happened to find something that had this kind of lacy, holy beginning, and then it's a rib, but this part is all stocking stitch and this part is garter. I don't know. I think it's horrible. But it looks really nice on screen. I think it's that part that I don't really like. They're just holes, they're just eyelets. Maybe once it's got some tassels on. What really ruined it for this project was I was just knitting along and it was ombreing really beautifully, and then there was a break in the yarn. And when I continued knitting with the yarn, with the ball, you know, I joined, when there's a knot in a ball, I don't just continue knitting, I undo the knot and leave a little tail so I can weave in the ends, because I don't want to risk that not being stable. Well, then we got this stripe, and that is really disappointing because it goes, you know, darker, lighter, and it has this kind of undulating colour about it, which is kind of wavy, which is nice. What is that? What? Excuse me, you've ruined my scarf. And it's not like it happened somewhere where it's going to be round the back. That's right at the front. But getting this much scarf done in a pattern that I was not really interested in a yarn I wasn't really interested in, was such hard work. I daren't pull it back. And I just hated it so much. I just don't want to do it, and I just put it away. Gosh, isn't that a shame? I know how much she'll appreciate it, so I will do it. But, and also it's such an easy project and it's such a thick yarn, it will just knit up so quickly. I must have done that in one day. No, it's not as bad as I thought it was. I keep thinking that I hated it, and I don't actually hate it. I do hate what happened there. The project is okay. I've changed my mind. I like the project. And it's a nice thick, I don't know, with a scarf, you don't really want it to roll in on itself, so I feel like that's gonna look nice as a scarf. Yeah. And you know what? Caroline won't even notice that, bless her. She would just think that that was always meant to be there. Yeah. Let's finish that for Caroline. She'll really appreciate it. She said that she's going to come from Australia for Christmas after her baby's born. Because the baby will be old enough then to fly. And I would like to get her some nice things for Christmas. So I think I can add that. And she always fly, whenever she comes to the UK, if it's winter, she never brings enough clothes. She always wants to borrow things from me. And I'm double her size. She's only a tiny little thing. So for a couple of times she's come, I've bought her a jacket. Last time I bought her this really oversized jacket, and I had it monogrammed all over with different sayings that she would say, like catchphrases and funny pictures and things, because I had access to an embroidery machine at the time, and she loved it. And there was like little cherry blossoms and cherries as well that I put on it. So I quite like getting her garments, because when she's here I know that she'll use them. And oh yeah, I'll just show you this one before I leave. Years ago, I asked my dad, this was when I still lived with my dad, I asked him for napkins. I wanted some white, beautiful linen napkins with round the edge, I wanted it to have Irish linen work. And I found some, and I sent him the link. They weren't expensive. And then on Christmas morning, I opened these. Beautiful napkins from the White Company. No edging. So I went to my room, I got an unpicker and started tearing them apart. Jason said it was so rude. Well, I was really very interested in the present, so I started doing this beautiful Irish linen work, which you pull out threads from the fabric and then you stitch in a particular way. I mean, I can't even remember how I did it. I'd have to watch a tutorial, but I can see here I've got I've pulled the threads out, and then you do a special little stitch and you collect your seam allowance down and create like little clumps of the kind of fibres. Apparently my dad's face was not impressed. And I actually thought that I had finished at least one, but I've done 2 sides of one and 2 corners. 2 sides, 2 corners. I have 4 napkins. They would be very nice to be actually finished. So that is a deep stash of a project. I've got, yeah, there's 4. I used to collect things when I lived with my dad for when I had a house, and I collected a tea set with all the matching tea service and dinner service, the plates and bowls and all of that, and a cake stand. I love vintage china, so I kind of collected all the same yellow range from Woodswear. It's called Jasmine, and I really like it. It's really, really common in the UK. The green colour, you can find it really, really easily. And then the blue, I think, is the next easily to find one. And then very difficult to find the yellow. And there is a pink, but that is, you never find it. I wonder actually if that was commissioned for one particular person or one particular event. But the green, you find that in, well, you would have found it in the 40s, wartime. In church halls, in schools, in police stations. It was kind of like a utility china, and so you can find it in car boot sales or junk shops, sometimes in massive boxes full. but the yellow is really tricky to find. So whenever I'd find like one little plate on eBay, I'd go, ooh. So anyway, that was why I was collecting the napkins. I do now really fancy having a nice tablecloth on my table downstairs. Maybe doing a few for this different ones for the seasons, because I do love an afternoon tea. I love making little sandwiches and little cakes, and I don't know, making an occasion of it. If ever a guest comes, I have to make something special. I don't want something ordinary, I want something special, and like a nice afternoon tea with a tablecloth and cloth napkins just feels fancy. So I better finish these. I could even monogram my initials. Just on my one. Guest 1, guest 2, and then Christina. Now we'll see what I'll do with that, but it is a fun little stitch, and I don't even know what it's called, but there's a lot of different Irish linen work. This is just the most simple of all of them. Some of them are spectacular, but I cannot even imagine how difficult they are. So yeah, I just wanted to go through those bags and see what I've got. Turns out I've got a few bits and pieces to get done, and I think I'll leave it. As that for now. As I said, today's the 31st of March. Tomorrow I'm going into hospital to have my baby. We tried to turn her, but she did not turn, so she's still breech. So tomorrow morning I will be at the hospital 7 AM. When you see this video, it will not be the 31st of March anymore. Maybe it will be a week's time. So when I'm at home recovering, I will kind of go through the video and edit, put the little captions on, and then I'll put some like little bit of vloggy bit at the end, because I'm sure you'd like to see some, you know, baby shots. Or if you don't, you can just skip it, it'll be at the end. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for all of the well wishes and the beautiful comments that you all sent me before the baby came. She hasn't come yet, but she will have come. So before the baby came. I really, really appreciate all your kindness and advice anyone's given me and your prayers. So thank you so much, and I will see you very soon. I have ordered a couple of little bits of fabric and some yarn, and I've stashed some quantities away in anticipation of after the baby's born. Things to make for myself, because I won't be earning, so I wanted to have a few little projects with the pattern and the fabric or the yarn all ready to go, and then when I fancy making them I would have a project all ready. So yeah, there are a few little bits. I didn't go crazy, but I just wanted to have some options there, and I would like to show you those options in the next video. So bye bye for now, and I will speak to you very soon. Bye guys.